All right, welcome everybody. Card Guys here with another video. This time we're doing another chart. Everybody seems to love our charts and how we change the chart pretty much every time we do it. This time, I took a little bit of inspiration from Tarek. He did a Briar, or sorry, not a Briar, a Blitz tier chart, kind of matchup chart, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it kind of demonstrated, because there's so many heroes in Blitz. It kind of demonstrated, how many good matchups, bad matchups, even matchups each hero had, and kind of really kind of simplify and help people break down, how they're going to choose their hero for an event. There's so many to choose from. You want to choose one that has a lot of good matchups, so it makes it pretty easy there. But we've got Josh, Nathan, Nam, and William B here with us today. We are missing a few, but we are going to try to do our best here. We're going to look at just a top segment of the heroes in the format. We're not going to go over every single hero. That would just take too much time. We're going to kind of break down the top heroes, kind of show you what their matchups are. Josh is going to explain this tier chart, but before we get into it, if you haven't already and you do enjoy our content, like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out our Patreon. Patreon is in the description. We're all around in the Discord all the time, helping out our patrons. We have a lot of talented people in there for matches. If you're ever just trying to get some good matches in, have questions, that sort of thing, a lot of talented people in there. So check us out there, and let's get into the video. Josh, you want to break down this chart for us and explain how we're going to work with this?
Sure. All right, so this chart is inspired a little bit from Tarek's chart, also from the fighting game matchup charts. So how they typically talk about their matchups, they talk about 5-5 matchups, 6-4, 4-6, and that basically just means when two equally skilled pilots or fighters play 10 games, how many do they expect to win out of 10? So, over here, we have the 6 main meta heroes that we think will comprise most of the metagame. So we have Fai, Briar, Viserai, Prism, Bravo, and Oldhim. So the ones that are in column E here, these are the... How you read this chart is it's basically column E will be the deck that is being played, and then row 5 is what they're playing against, right? And so if we, let's say, have Fai against Briar, I combined their names. Let's say we think Fai will win 6 out of 10 games. We'll put 6 there, and obviously because there's a 6 here, there will be a 4 here, right? So as we fill out the chart, this side here will also be filled in as well. In order to make this chart kind of a bit more condensed, we're kind of grouping all the other heroes into 2 categories. We have the rare category, which we considered to be Lexi, Dash, Dromai, Dorinthia, and Icelander. And then the mythic, if you play this at PT2, consider yourself lucky, I guess. Play against it. We have Levia, Reinhardt, Bolton, Kano, Ketsu, and Azalea. Again, we consider a favorable matchup 55%, or in this case 5.5 or above. Unfavorable matchups, which will be in red, will be 45% or 4.5 and below. And once we have all the numbers here, we will get a raw score, which is just everything in this row together. And then finally, we'll get an adjusted score, which is basically going to be the sum of all of the metagame share times the matchup score. So let's say Fai has 25%, right? So if Briar has 40% into Fai, it'll be 4 times 25%. And then we'll just add up each of these. And that will help us determine mathematically which is the strongest deck. Now, the one with the highest raw score and the deck with the highest adjusted score may not be the same, because what really matters here is the metagame share, right? So I think that's actually the first thing that we should talk about, and the very first thing that we should talk about is the predicted PT2 metagame share. And to do that, I want to talk a little bit about the PT1 metagame. So the way I saw it is that there were several main decks, these 3 in particular, Starvo, Chain, and Prism, and then there were a couple, more fringe decks that we're still seeing some play, and then it kind of fell off from there, right? All the other decks only comprised 10 players out of a field of 365. So, given that, let's have a little bit of a discussion about what, because the most important numbers are actually these, because this will dictate the adjusted score. Now we can come back and adjust this during our discussion, but I think it would actually be best to start off with a discussion of PT2 metagame share.
Sure.
So what do we think will be the most represented deck, and what percentage of the metagame do we think that deck will have?
I'm leaning towards Fai being the most represented deck, but not by a lot. I think with the banning, it's gonna
not as dominant as in PT1, where it was 36%.
Right. I don't think we're gonna see that, but I could be wrong. But my personal belief on the topic is that a lot of people have realized that Fai has just as many bad matchups as pretty much everything else, and that it's not gonna really. There's not really a best deck like there was last time. I feel like, and usually when there's a best deck, you get that 36% or whatever. So I'm leaning more towards the 15 to 20% of the field would be my thoughts.
Okay, so let's just. So there's been several major events recently. There was the European Champions Tournament. There was the Calling in the Netherlands, and then there was the Battle Hardened in Auckland. So that, looking at those top 8s, Fai was consistently in the top 8 there. However, since those events, there was the banning of stubby hammers. And so, I mean, the metagame share of Fai in those events was a little bit like 25, 30-ish, I think. Yeah, about 25. So do we actually think the stubbies is going to influence people to switch off the deck?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
100%.
I think the main thing that Stubbies, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think the main thing that Stubbies did for the deck was increase its percentage into all aggro decks by a good margin, right?
Yeah.
One armor piece deals 6 to 8 damage in a game. That's most aggro matches end with a 10 to 0 life total, difference. You're in sub 10, both either way. So that 6 to 8 point swing is pretty huge in the aggro matchup. But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my thoughts. I think that the percentage will definitely go down because of it.
I think all that's correct, combined with the fact that it's just so enticing to have like part of your combo sitting right there, piece of your armor. And now that that's gone, it's a lot more people will be like, "Ooh, can I do it without that?"
Yeah, it's harder to get the combo, right? They had 3 pieces before, now they have 2. And one of those pieces being on the board already made that a lot easier to accomplish.
Okay, so do we think about 20% is a reasonable prediction?
I don't even think Fai will be the most represented aggro deck.
You don't think so?
I think it actually is less than that. I would say 15.
Yeah, and my thought process is, out of all the aggro decks, it's actually the most targetable one. And I think that's going to scare a lot of people off of it. I mean, he's not going to like disappear, right? Like, don't get me wrong. He'll still be like 10, 15%. But I think there'll be more Viserai there for sure.
Okay. Let's just say 15% for now.
Sure. We can always adjust it at the end once we
It's tentative.
Okay. Let's talk about the other 2 aggro decks, Briar and Viserai. Where do we see
this? Is the meat and potatoes, in my opinion. Like the conversation, the rumor mill on Twitter is a lot of talk about Viserai, and the counterpoint I see a lot is, well, Briar's better than that. But if anything I've learned in the past is the rumor mill gets people talking about decks, and Viserai.
Yeah, I think maybe 10% Briar, 15% Viserai, something like that, maybe.
That's exactly what I would put. Yeah.
Okay. And Prism?
15%?
I want to say like 50%.
Exactly what I put. Yep.
I mean, she's always going to be at least 10% of the round,
I think there's a chance it'll be more.
Could be. That's a fair point. Yeah. I'd say I could see the argument for 20.
She might be the biggest deck.
This could be her last event, so a lot of people want to get that last 2 Ryan.
That's absolutely right.
So
and the decks that counter the top decks, she counters. So
yep.
So there's an argument to be made that because she's so close to LL, she's not gonna like people. Are people actually just gonna switch onto her, like buy a whole new deck just for one event? Or
Well, there's a unique thing, and Will can testify to this with Prism. There's a very, very uniqueness that Prism has that no other deck in the format has, and it's that there are hardcore, dedicated Prism players that will play nothing else, know nothing else. I mean, actually cannot play another deck and have it fully blinged out. And I don't know why, but I feel like I never see that with other heroes for some reason. And Prism is just one of those heroes, and maybe it's because she's waifu. Maybe
she's flesh and blood's little darling.
Yeah.
People love her. If it weren't for Dorinthia, she would be the little darling.
There's a lot of Dorinthia is probably the other hero that people do that for as well. So,
so with Prism, I think it's three things. It's either you love the decks. It might be your last hurrah to bring her to a big event. For me, I'm trying to win the Pro Tour with Prism. It's the last chance to do that.
Yeah.
The other thing is I might be wrong. She was in big numbers at the last PT, but Starvo was the deck to beat. Like, if you want to beat Starvo, what are you bringing? Probably Prism. So maybe not. Maybe people won't bring her in spite of the fact that they love her. But we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about Bravo and Oldhim now. So this is kind of the third pillar. We have our aggro decks, Fai, Briar, and Viserai. We have our other, the mid-range deck, Prism, and then we have Bravo and Oldhim. What type of metagame share do we think that they will have?
I'd probably put them at 15% apiece.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
We should line up pretty correctly with how we have the chart built.
Let's see, we got 5 15s, so that's
85%.
Yeah, 85%. So 15 between the rest. Do we need to add some somewhere?
So my thought on the rare and mythic categories is that we've seen that the really, really, really obscure heroes really generally attack 3 to 4% of the people. And then I think if you add, I think Lexi and Dash will be a bit more than these three, but they'll still be a little bit. There's a difference between Jeremiah, Dorinthia, and Icelander, and then the mythic tier. That's why I kind of separated them like that. From the PT1, we also saw roughly a 12-3 split between
nice.
what I consider rare and mythic. So that actually gives us 100 perfectly. Do we want to adjust anything? Or do you want to adjust these?
I like it.
I'm pretty happy with that.
I think that's pretty spot on, actually.
Yeah,
we could be completely off base, by the way, guys. Like, if anybody watching
this feels
we
high.
obviously cannot predict what's going to happen at the event.
The
The
Oldhim does feel a little high.
This feels high, and this feels low, I think.
The Oldhim could be 10. I could see that.
Yeah.
Because it's not like people are chomping at the bit to play
Because
Oldhim.
Oldhim in PT1 was 3.8%, and Oldhim is that type of deck that you don't just... You either like it or you don't. Like,
But he was 3%
on Oldhim.
He was 3% during the first Pro Tour because he was the
Why
worst
play him
Guardian.
instead of Starvo, yeah.
One thing that could impact Oldhim's percentage share, which maybe we're underplaying, is two things. One, a lot of the cards for Oldhim transferred from Starvo, which are no longer usable. So like the shields and things like that, the actual expensive bits of the deck, people should still have left over from Starvo if they didn't sell it. And two, it did very well at the last event that we just saw.
Yeah, that's true.
It's one of the counters to Fai,
Yeah.
which people are expecting to be one of the best decks in the room. So there should be an uptick in Oldhim in theory, and it also is very competitive with most of the rest of the field, other than Prism.
It's a solid deck.
So
It's so interesting to try and predict what people are going to show up with.
A lot of people just don't like playing Oldhim. That style of play just drives.
if you knew how many blue players there were in Magic, you would believe this percentage is low.
I agree.
People love ruining other people's day. Don't downplay that. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Guilty as charged.
All right. I think I feel a bit more comfortable bumping Oldhim down a little bit. So we still need 5% somewhere else. I do think this is this is slightly low.
Red deck wins.
Is Briar low? Like, can we bump it to 15 or?
If I was gonna add 5 somewhere, I'd put it on Prism or Viserai.
I'd put it on Viserai or Briar. That's where I would put it.
I would put more on Viserai here.
Yeah,
I think Viserai will be the most represented personally.
yeah.
It's the easiest to build for sure.
There you go. Look at that.
I think that
Look at
works.
that.
There we go.
That's
So now we have a clear front runner here. Okay.
Done.
Okay. So now that we've filled out the metagame share, we're going to jump into talking about each of the individual matchups.
Yep.
Of course, the rare and mythic, we're kind of lumping them together.
Yep.
And
of course the diagonal, like everything that's a mirror match essentially for people that don't understand that.
50-50.
And we're assuming, like Josh said, equally skilled pilots. So we're going to assume that that's a 50-50. Don't come into the comment section being like, well, I'm the best Prism player ever. It's 80% for me. Well, that's not what we're trying to get at here.
Sure. Okay.
It's fine.
I feel like we should just go from top to bottom here. That'll make filling the chart out easier. So
Let's do it.
and we'll go left to right here. So the very first matchup we want to talk about is Fai against Briar.
Take us away, Nathan.
These two should be kind of similar, I think, right?
Yeah. I would put. So for Briar, they both have the high roll potential and the explosiveness. So I'd put it at. Before the Stubbies ban, it was definitely not 50-50. It was in Fai's favor, but now I would say it's probably about 50-50. If you factored in the high roll potential on Briar and the fact that she wants to block a little bit more now, blocking with those sifts and cards like that to stop the mass trigger. It's kind of like her game plan all along kind of fits better into Fai's game plan, which makes it an overall better matchup for her, or what is now even. Viserai, I would say he's really good at blocking, right? And so those mass triggers are not gonna be as relevant, and he's gonna force a lot of cards to be blocked, or you're gonna give him a lot of rune chance on the mobs and stuff like that. So I'd swing that one in Viserai's favor. Not a whole lot. 55, 60 tops.
Okay. So, as I said before, because we're filling out this one, we can obviously fill out this one as well.
No, that would be in Viserai's favor.
Oh, you got it in the.
Sorry. Oh, you think it's Viserai favorite? Okay.
Vis favorite. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just keep going. Fai against Prism.
Fai
It's rough.
favored.
How Fai favored is it though?
Maybe 65-35 or 70-30. What would you
I was
say,
going
Will?
to say 70-30.
70-30?
I'll say 70-30.
I'd say that's probably pretty accurate.
Ooh, that's the green.
What in particular makes that matchup so hard? As opposed to the Rune Blades, which I guess are also hard, but they
Rune Blades always have the potential to like trip up. It's like, oh, they drew all non-attacks, or they aren't really presenting anything that threatening. Fai every turn is like, bam, I'm going to hit you 5 times, and it's going to amount to like 15 to 20, and it's like, whoa, how am I going to do anything as Prism? It just doesn't really let you wiggle, and you need some time to wiggle.
Yeah,
I see.
that's Prism's weakness, is going wide. She's very, very efficient at blocking individual attacks and presenting threat because she has board presence. So people that have individual attacks and no way to deal with her auras and no way, and if they do end up blocking or popping her attacks, then they lose threat on their turn. Fai is just like, I don't care unless it's erudition, and I'm going to put 20 damage on the board, and then I have a free Phoenix Flame and then in my combat chain to take care of your thing for free. Like they don't have to use any resources to get rid of your auras. So those are the decks that Prism's weak to.
And it's funny, something as little as Tiger Stripe Shuko, like some Prisms got cute and like, I'll just build a bunch of Spectral Shields, and then he destroys all of them by swinging for 2. Like, it's a nightmare.
Wow. So what has to go right for Prism to win this matchup? Well, why is it 7-3 instead of like 8-2 or 9?
The die roll.
The die roll 1, and then just big attacks with no poppers. You just have to chain them together.
Big attacks, no poppers, or you're doing the vestige list and you're trying to high roll off of a crazy Tome of Divinity and just kill them in 1 turn.
Yep.
Parable can buy you some time. That too.
And
Okay. All right, so we consider that a 7-3 matchup in the favor of Fai. Okay, let's talk about the Fai versus the Guardians.
All right, no.
I think well, Bravo is pretty good against Fi, right? Because it has all the disruption, it has all the cards that really stop and crush the weak, all the things that spinal crushes, everything hinders them. I mean, that's what Bravo is good at. So I would say it's before the stubbies, it was a little closer because they still had that really explosive turn. Now I want to say it would be the 70-30 here because they can still hit it that spreading flames art of war turn. There's still a lot of damage.
You got to keep the pressure up.
And if you don't keep the pressure up, if you don't draw those disruption cards every turn, just a hammer is not going to do anything to them. They're just going to take it and they're going to hit you back just as hard, or way harder actually. So.
Okay. Is that the same case for Oldhim?
For Oldhim, I want to say it's actually 80-20, depending on what kind of Oldhim build you have. The more control Oldhim, it's going to be better against the Fai because they're generally still playing a lot of red. With Winton's list, the Biting Gales really crush them. They just can't have a turn if they get Biting Galed.
Right.
And then on top of like the ice reacts, or if you're still playing Stalagmite, one Frostbite can really shut down their entire turn.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is the first time we're going to have a discussion about a hero versus a group of heroes. So I think in general, this will always be a positive above 5 in general, right? The only exception might be here. So what makes a deck weak against off-meta heroes? Generally, that's a deck that's very tight in terms of their sideboard slots, and they can't either they've already dedicated a lot of slots to 2 different decks like Prism does or Bolton would, or they're a deck that has to dedicate a lot of slots like maybe Bravo or Oldhim would to shoring up one of their weak matchups against a popular deck like against Prism, right? So that's generally how I would think of is if a deck has a lot of sideboard slots available, then they generally can handle these more fringe cases, or they're more likely to have something in the sideboard that's useful, right? I guess against... Maybe it might be easier to start with the Fai against these really obscure decks here. In general, the power level 5 is just going to destroy most of the decks, right? So the question is to what degree is it favored against very off-meta heroes?
80-20.
It should be about 80-20, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And likewise, I guess by the nature of our definition here, the rare heroes are stronger, therefore they're more popular, so this should be less than an 8.
I would say 50-50, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
because
Icelander and the Lexi really...
Icelander, Lexi, and Dory ain't no cakewalk. Dory's probably 50-50, but he's favored against Stash and Dromai, so like that's a perfect 50-50, I think.
There might even be a dash build out there that can get it to 50-50. I don't know.
Yeah. Boost Dash, and maybe.
Okay, we'll put that as a 5. Okay, so so from that gives us... So there are 8 categories. 5 times 8 is 40. So actually, in terms of raw score, 5 is actually a little bit below 40, right? And then the adjusted score, you could think of this as how many games out of 10 they will win. So given our metagame share and our ratings for each individual matchup, this comes out to 4.7 out of 10 games. Right. So that means that we think that into the general field, and given this metagame share, we actually think Fai has less than 50% win rate. Okay, let's move on.
I love it.
All right.
Love it.
I love it too.
All right, so we already talked about Briar against Fai, so we can move on to Briar against Viserai.
50-50.
What makes this matchup 50-50?
Both have equal high roll potential, and both can trip on their own shoelaces. both get advantages for going both first and second. I think those two playing each other is the closest 50-50 match that's not a mirror match.
Okay. And that's because they share a lot of cards and their damage.
They both
output is
use
about the
Rosetta
same.
Thorn.
They're doing the same shit.
This one stole Rosetta Thorn. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's just like Briar. I guess Briar has like a slightly higher high roll potential, but that's probably counteracted by Viserai having slightly more consistency.
Okay, sure. Okay, Briar against Prism.
Nathan, I'm going to say 60-40 in the favor of Briar.
Okay.
That's what I would put as well. I think Nathan's in the slot that it's worse than that for Prism, but I also think
I'd say 65, but
65?
I do see what you're saying.
I would not say 65 just because we're trying to assume equally skilled pilots here, and I think that there's a lot to be said in that matchup for going first and going second. And I think there's actually quite a few percentage points that it can be allotted there. And I think it actually gets close to 50-50 if Prism goes first and the pilots are both very good. But they both have high roll potential. They both have trip on the shoelace potential, yada, yada, yada. But I would agree with 60-40.
Okay. Let's talk about Briar and Oldhim, or Briar and Bravo, sorry.
This has been...
Nathan's gonna be biased as heck here. So.
No. I got facts. Okay. So everybody when they were talking about the rise, everybody was talking about the rise of Bravo and like, the disruption and all that. But like, I don't know if it's the way that I play Briar.
It is.
But I have not had an issue playing against great Bravo players, like Kale and all those guys. Like I don't know. My knee jerk reaction is say that match is 50-50. I don't think in any way it's Briar favored, but I think if you ask 9 out of 10 people, they would say it's probably in Bravo's favor, 60-40.
I would have said 50-50.
But I'm at 50-50. That's what I was
going to go with 50-50.
Okay.
Because I've played the match 10 times and it's been 50-50 every time. I've never felt like it was super favored one way or another.
Yeah, it's always so tight, and it's just whoever can really close out the game at the end.
Yep.
But super tight match.
Yep.
Okay. Does that change when you play against Oldhim?
I'd say Oldham's a little harder.
This at a perfect skill level, right? 50-50. I think it's also very close. I would say 50-50 as well. Because whenever Nathan and I play, we just get down to one life each, and then whoever can really close it out the end. Right. And he got some really good turns, but I got to stabilize as Oldhim, and it still goes real long.
Hard to find him, man. That
card.
Man, you gotta kill him twice. You got
as long as you see that card 3 times. Right?
Yeah, it's value town, man.
Yeah, if the game's gone long enough for him to see it 3 times, you're in trouble.
I think the games we played today, I think I gained like 6 life on each of those games.
Good card is good.
Yeah,
card is good.
All right.
What do you want to say? Like 55-45 in Oldham's favor, or 50-50? What are we doing here?
You could say that. I'd say like 50-50 or 55 in Oldham's favor would probably be.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be. I wouldn't scoff at it.
Okay. Sure. So Briar against the general field, is she going to be kind of caught off guard by these rare heroes here?
No, she's good. She got blues that she don't give a shit about. So no worries on Lexi and Icelander. Mm-hmm. Well, Lexi.
I was about to say Lexi's probably one of her rough matches, but
it is. But I don't know.
We need to consider these as like a group, as like. So I guess playing against tier 2 heroes in general and playing against tier 3 heroes in general.
The only one in that rare group that I would be hesitant to play against is Lexi. That's it. The rest of them, I think, are
right.
I think a really solid boost dash can race you, but other than that, you're not worried about Dromide, Duranthe, and Icelander.
So like 6.5, 7.
I think
I'd say at least 7.
Yeah, 7.
Yeah, let's say
Probably
7. I think
Yeah,
7.
say 7. Because I just don't think Lexi's going to show up that big.
And then I'd
Yeah.
put like 9 probably for
Oh yeah,
lower
that's free
bracket.
stuff.
Yeah, it's got to be bigger than 7.
And the reason I say that is because I think Kano is a very specific target in that mythic category, right? He always can prey on a certain number of heroes. Whereas like Levia, Rhinar, Azalea, they kind of group into that like
Right.
that same category where they're just not that great. They just don't have the tools yet. But Kano can come out and blast some people away, which Briar is historically a bad matchup for Kano.
Okay. So with those scores, that gives us a raw score of 46.5, an adjusted score of 5.46.
She's looking good.
So that means above average. On average, you think she wins about 55% of games? Okay. Moving on, we have Viserai against Prism.
This favored, but
50.
not nowhere near what it used to be.
I was going to say, it's gotten better.
I
Yeah.
would almost put it at 50-50.
You got to give him some favor, but not a lot.
55 for
Like
Viz.
like 55, 60
Sure.
tops. Yeah, because back when we had the skeleton combo, we could get her down to a life to where she couldn't establish
I
a
think
board
that's
state.
really what made the big difference.
But
the lack
now
of
you
skeleton.
don't have that
Yeah.
explosiveness. It's just like
The
she's
only-
gonna block all your mobs anyway, so you're not getting any free shit. So it doesn't
The only card
Yeah.
that matters in that matchup is Mordred tied into Revel.
revel. Yep.
That's how they win the game.
That's a lot of Viserai's matchup.
And the fact that we run blue lead the Chargers now, that's like a saving grace, right?
Yep.
Just lead the charges.
I don't like no lead the charges now. Don't you be leading no charge.
Okay. The next matchup here is Viserai against Bravo.
I believe this is Bravo favored, not by much. I would say 60-40. Would you agree, Nathan?
Yeah. He doesn't. Vis never minds blocking with one card. Sometimes he doesn't mind blocking with 2 cards if he's just doing the Mob Shrill Rosetta. But some of those haunted effect, like Choke Slam, man, that card. If you got a Bravo deck and Choke Slam ain't in it, you ain't playing it right. I tell you that much. So, yeah, it's Spinal Crush and Choke Slam.
What makes
Those
it
are
more
good
even
cards.
is that you still have a ton of armor. You still have really good armor, and then all your cards block for 3. And like you say, you can function off of a 3-card block. So, beginning of the game, they're going to be able to block out most of those big attacks with their armor with 1 card. But then after that, they won't have the access to the armor anymore. So everything can be dominated, and then just start chunking in.
I think what Bravo has that a lot of decks don't have is the blue count too. So like, a lot of decks that play with Rune Chance, they prey on the fact that, if they get rid of their blue, their turn's not going to be very good, But Bravo's like, okay, I'll just ditch one of my 4 blues, and it's not going to impact how I block, how my turn to follow up, that sort of thing. So
The Rune Chance is actually still hurt, but
they're going to hurt anybody.
They're going to hurt anybody,
them
but
less.
they hurt the least. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the Guardians in general are very good at handling split damage or damage that comes in different weird breakpoints.
Yeah.
Okay, so we think that Viserai against Bravo is a 4-6 matchup. How about Viserai against Oldhim?
I want to say this is Oldhim favored still, right? But it's still going to be close.
Cracked the code on that one. We cracked the code.
I was about to say.
Oh, right. That's the new combo wombo.
Yeah. So it depends on how the Oldhim player is playing, but the difference between the Bravo, because like let's say they're playing aggro or mid-range Oldhim, right, and just trying to play the value game. Well, the difference between Bravo and Oldhim doing that is Viserai gets to pick how he plays instead of telling me I can only block with 1 card. And then I have to figure out the rest. Whereas Oldhim, it's like, sure, you're throwing a Spinal and that sucks, but I can handle that however I want and still make the most efficient play.
Yep.
Whereas Bravo forces me to do something. So I'd make the argument, knowing what I know, I'd probably say
You think Viserai's a little
Not
more
by
favorite?
much. Not by much. Like 55 probably. Like,
Okay.
in Vista's favor, but yeah.
Okay. That is interesting. Okay. Viserai into the tier 2 heroes.
I think he's great into the rest of the field, other than Kano. He gets his booty waxed by Kano.
Yeah, Dory's no problem. Dromai is free. Dash.
Dash
He's more
could be a problem.
Yeah, he's more susceptible to Dash because Dash can easily block the Mavon hits. And then Icelander and Lexi. Viserai's resource curve is much tighter than, say, Briar or Fai's even. So he's impacted a decent amount by Ice.
I was gonna say Lexi. Sure. I remember being a problem when I was playing Viserai.
Ice in general is a problem. So I would say into that field, just because Dromai so for
a 6,
6.5, yeah.
Okay.
And then he just cleans the floor with the
I think the rest of them, that's big trouble.
Like an 8, maybe?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
We'll give it a...
All right. So that gives Viserai a raw score of 45 and a justice score of 5.32. A little bit behind Briar. Okay. We're getting kind of close to the end now. Prism against Bravo.
So you may be looking at this chart and being like, man, Prism's not looking so hot, but
we're not done.
We are not done.
So Bravo.
She's about to go up.
Bravo's probably like an 8.5.
I was going to say 9.
and I think Oldham's like at 9.
9.5. No.
But
yeah, 8.59 easy. Like there's just no debate there. That's.
And for the rest of the field, I think she historically just cleans house with people that aren't trying, like that don't play a certain way. Dash is her problem on that bottom border.
Yeah,
but everything else is a free win.
But she literally cannot lose to Dorinthia, Icelander, and Dromai.
Like literally free.
Literally. She would lose to Dash and Lexi, right?
Give her 8.5.
Only Lexi is a really fast go wide lightning Lexi, and if you're playing that, you're not beating anything else. Like
Prism existing is what keeps the decks in the rare and mythic slot.
Right.
They cannot break into the format with her being a problem.
Well, if you need proof on that, ask Josh.
Oh, Josh. Poor Josh.
I don't want to talk about
actually, hilariously, bring the mythic down to 7 on her, because Katsu and Bolton can just eat her lunch out of nowhere. Maybe even Levia.
Yeah, and Levy and Reinar can always cost more.
I would argue that Bolton has to play Sabres right now. And Bolton Sabres is quite a good matchup for Prism.
Yeah, you're right.
But the only one we're really scared of down there is Katsu. Azalea, maybe, honestly. But you're just never going to see that deck. That's
a lot of green on Prism.
Suddenly.
So after we punched in all those numbers, that gives her a raw score 49.5. A justice score of 5.9.
Yeah, I'm going to bed.
First place right now. All right.
There's probably more aggro than we're assuming for originally.
Yeah, we'll adjust the metagame share a little bit.
I mean, we're assuming almost half the room. Like,
all right.
But that's what makes her appealing to people is that her good matchups are really good, as opposed to where Briar, Viserai, all these decks is what we used to call in Magic fair decks.
Yeah,
and they have to work for every win.
5, 5, 5, 6, 5, 4.5. Yeah. All right. The last major matchup we have is Bravo against Oldhim.
What's his 50-50? Comparatively to
is Bravo not favored in that match?
That's what I heard.
That's what we thought, right? But no,
Oldham's just so efficient, man.
Really,
Oldhim is so efficient.
Like I would lean it towards Oldham. Probably,
I give him like 55. Oldham,
yeah.
Really, I wouldn't have thought that.
I wouldn't have either.
Just so efficient.
Well, the thing is, for Oldham, right? He's going to play Sledge, and every 3 turns he's going to be able to sledge with 1 card with tuning. Right, yep. You would think that being able to on demand dominate an attack every turn, or like, potentially dominating an attack every turn would put it over the top. But no, because Oldhim just is so efficient in their blocking. They have so much free block, and they're gonna eventually just deck you out. Because
historically, how that matchup's gone, right, is that the early and middle game is negligible. You might as well just put both of you at 10 life and start the game that way.
Right.
But it's the pitch stack that used to win the game. Like Bravo gets back to these pitch stack crippling crushes and pitch stacked pummels where they're like, okay, I'm going to take this one hitter, I'm going to use my armor here, and then bam, you're never going to get another turn ever again, because I'm going to hit you with crippling dominated. I'm going to hit you with irrelevant attack plus pummel, and just keep going at your face and doing damage until you die. That's why I thought Bravo was favored, because they had dominate and Oldhim didn't. That used to be the difference.
Yeah, but you only have so many of those cards, and Oldhim plays a decent amount of D reacts where they can just block out. And unless you're running Remembrance, you're going to run out of steam.
All right. Well, I would assume they would be playing Remembrance, but
most of them aren't.
But anyway, I'll 100% believe you because I don't know. But
okay, Bravo into the 2/2.
He's quite good into the field, right?
Yeah,
I'd say
he's good into most of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say he's good into everything in
except
the
Dash, maybe Dash, because she can always pew,
Yeah, Dash control.
Yep.
Dromai could give. Oh no, that's more for Oldhim. But
yeah, no, Bravo beats Dromai. It's a long game.
Bravo.
Yeah.
It takes a very skilled Dromai to beat a Bravo, and even there, it's not easy.
How's Icelander into Bravo?
Better than Oldhim.
Is she kind of good, actually?
It's good if they're playing AB3, then Bravo, like the Guardian, is gonna win.
And Dorinthia versus Bravo is historically a pretty even match, right? Or is it not?
That's a completely skill-based, very close matchup.
Yeah.
Would you do 75-25?
Sure.
I don't know if we made an argument for Dash, Dorinthia, and Icelander there, I would put it at like 6 out of 10. And
no. Bravo beats Icelander.
Oh! I thought you were saying that she loses or he loses to her.
No,
I think he wins. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then yeah, absolutely.
I think 7.
7 sounds reasonable. Okay.
7-3, yeah.
Okay.
And then into the Mythics.
Might struggle a lot more with the Mythics, right?
Really?
No, I don't think so.
No, I think it's good.
I don't think he should lose to any of them.
Maybe Kano. He can always sneak one on you.
I mean, Kano can always combo you out. That's the 1%, right?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good there.
We'll do 90-10.
90-10?
Ooh, that's a little steep.
I was like 7 or 8. 7 or 8.
No, what do you think you would lose to? Besides,
we can do 8. Bolton.
I think Levia and Reinhardt are both fairly they do the same
Reinhardt
thing.
kind of
say the brutes might be tough.
Yeah.
Like you want to be efficient, block, hammer them, or set up.
No, but Bravo's aggro now, so he don't give a shit.
Yeah, we're aggro.
He's trying to cripple.
Oh yeah, even turns off.
Yeah.
I'll take an 85.
Katsu is Bravo.
Okay.
No,
No?
We'll go with 85 then.
Katsu's the ninja that didn't get his GED.
Don't do my boy like that.
Oh.
That's funny because in our tier list video, I said the opposite. I said Fai was the one that didn't get his GED. Look where we're at.
Oh. All right, so that.
And then Oldhim.
Well, that gives Bravo a raw score of 44.5, an adjusted score of 5.25. All right. Oldhim against the rare category?
It's pretty strong.
Yeah.
Should be pretty strong, yeah.
Should be pretty strong.
Does he beat Icelander, or did they solve
that one's not free. That one's a little tougher.
So Icelander's pretty tough, and then Dromai's pretty tough, and then Dash can be pretty tough too, right?
Yeah, so maybe that one's like a 6.5.
I was gonna say 50-50 against the rare field, but
sure, yeah.
I mean that's 3 out of 5.
Yep, fair. Let's roll it.
What do you think, Josh?
You're asking me about Oldhim? I don't know much about Oldhim.
No, but you know a lot about these other heroes, though.
Yeah,
so.
Dash should have a favorable. Should be.
I don't personally think Icelander is that difficult, but definitely Dash and Dromai would give him an issue.
I also think Dorinthia is an uphill battle against Oldhim as well.
Well, yeah, we know that one. Yeah.
Well, I would say 6.5. I think that sounds.
I think we also have to keep in mind that Lexi will probably be higher than these, so maybe this matters a little bit more. I think 6 sounds reasonable.
Sure.
I just think Dash and Lexi are going to be more represented, and I think Dash is favorable. Lexi is unfavorable into Oldhim.
Yep.
Dash, I think, is favorable into Oldhim.
Right.
And then Dromai, I also think, is favorable into Oldhim. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see this.
Sure. Okay, and then Oldhim into the Mythic category.
I think
he's good.
Fantastic.
He should be.
I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
Maybe like
8,
an
9.
8.
It should be 8.5 or 9 because it
Sure.
just comes down to their offense is not is not strong enough to punch through in general.
Yep.
I think we can put him at a 9.
So the key here is don't play Mythic.
Now we're comparing the rares to the mythics, which should be pretty obvious, right? The rares are going to be better.
Yep. But how much better? 6?
Not much. Yeah, maybe 6.
6, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. Okay, so that gives us a score for Oldhim of 44.5, 5.14 as his adjusted score. The rare heroes have a raw score of 31, adjusted score of 3.6. The mythic has a raw score of 19.5 and adjusted score of 2.19. So, like I said before, another way to look at the adjusted score is how many games they're expected to win out of 10 against this field, given this percentage breakdown. Do we want to adjust our metagame share a little bit based on what we've talked about? Or are we okay with this?
I'm okay with it.
I think I'm okay with it. Yeah.
Okay.
Would you? Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just leave that then. So this is our work of art, I guess you could say. So given
Definitely.
the metagame share and our scores, the best deck to bring to PT2 mathematically, according to the card guys, is Prism.
I agree.
Followed up by Briar.
Yeah.
I would like to point out that look how close the scores are on these decks compared to the bottom rank, right? So that shows you that what we believe, which could be totally incorrect, by the way, don't, feel free to leave your comments down below. We are happy to discuss anything that you disagree with, but the scores are very, very close together, and meaning that these could change drastically based on pilot. These are in a perfect vacuum, even field, even Steven kind of, in theory, we think that these matchups are going to work this way. But if you are very talented and have a lot of reps, there's a lot that can be said for how many reps you've put in with any particular hero. You could easily gain a point.
The inverse is actually more important. Is a lot of people have not played against these obscure heroes.
Yes.
So when they play against them, they have to read every single card. They are very unsure what's about to come at them. They often just default to, okay, I'm just going to no block aggro. Like, these aggro decks are even more likely to no block against the rare mythics because they're like, I just don't have enough reps against these decks to really know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm just going to keep going as hard as I can, right?
Oh, wait, Red Levia, and she kills herself?
Yes.
With all the decks being, very close in raw score, that means we have. I mean that too. But we have a very healthy meta, I think, because you can pick up any of these decks, and if you're, just a really good player or a great player with skills, you can do well with any of these decks that are listed here.
Don't be surprised if the top 8 of PT Lil is very diverse, and also don't be surprised if one deck came out of nowhere and does really, really well and people didn't expect it to. Like, one of the decks in the rare mythic slot, you just never know what's going to happen at the event. And also there are two different kinds of people that go into an event, and one of those kinds of people much prefers a Starvo format because they know that Starvo is the best deck and they know that's what they're going to play, and then they just jam 1,000 games with Starvo, and that makes their decision very easy. Whereas those kinds of people don't like a format like this because they don't know what to play, and especially if you're just a play the best deck kind of person, there is no best deck right now, I think. In my personal opinion. I'm not going to say that Briar is better than Viserai because it has 0.14 points, above it. Like, I just don't think that that's the case. It's going to be very matchup dependent.
I'd argue put a little asterisk next to that Prism because, like, someone might look at that 4.5 into Viserai and think that I'm crazy. But I like fighting Viserai as Prism, and I think if you're a skilled pilot who is playing a razor good match, then it is a 4-5. Now, if you're not playing like that, then it's a 3 or a 2. So,
right. I agree. I think you can build any one of these decks to try to fight a certain meta. And also, another thing we actually haven't mentioned yet, which is fairly relevant, coming into round 4 of PT, you will have not played a single round of Classic Constructed. The decks that you're going to see rounds 4, 5, and 6 might have nothing to do with who's the best deck in the room.
Yeah, with all the drafting we're going to be doing.
Right. So, like, the best player in that room might go 0-3 in draft, and you will never see his deck, ever. You cannot go 0-3 and win the Pro Tour. So, you just never know what's going to happen at a format like that, and you never know what you're going to play against. Be ready for everything. Learn your matchups that you don't think you're going to have to learn, and play what your gut tells you to play. But
okay.
Anybody have anything else to say about this chart, or want to make any adjustments or anything?
No, that's good.
No, I think this has been a good exercise and good discussion. I think we're good to go.
Sweet.
Cool.
Why don't you just wrap us up, Alex, and we'll get out.
I got one thing before Alex closes us out. Feel free. The math on this sheet is pretty easy, right? All he's doing is multiplying, the advantage or the raw score basically times the metagame share. That gives you a point value, and it's adding that up on the right side, right? So feel free to make this in Excel for yourself. And let's say you disagree with our Viserai versus Prism number. Well, make that change, right?
Right.
Build this chart, make that change, and see where it lands. And then you make your decision based off of that. But this is just where we think everything lands.
Right.
But feel free. It's super simple. You could, like Josh said, this is how they used to do it in the fighting games. I'm sure somebody's got a tutorial out there on how to make this chart. Just feel free to search for that and make it yourself and adjust it accordingly.
Yeah. And to add to that, you could even simplify it. You could be like, I am good with 3 heroes.
Yep.
Break it down. Just put those 3 heroes on the chart.
Yep.
Look at your matchups and how you play them and your experience with those matchups. Like Nathan was saying, adjust it to your score, not what we think is the score. And then, go from there. Maybe it can help you pick a deck, because I know a lot of people that just, they talk about it, right? You can talk for hours about whose matchup is better and who's blah, 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 blah. But then how can you recount that entire conversation? Well, it's very, very easy to look at a chart like this and be like, oh, 5.9 sounds good. That's what I'll play. It's just a much easier way to look at it and to really break it down. But yeah, I 100% agree. Like, that sounds like a good idea. But if anybody doesn't have any other final things to say, I'll end us by saying thanks for watching. Like, we really appreciate each and every person that watches our content. These charts seem to do really, really well. We try to bring different content to you guys that other people aren't bringing. Thanks again to Tarek for the idea for doing something like this. I know he has no idea that he gave us this idea, but this chart I think is actually going to help a lot of people. It is our opinion, not fact. We would absolutely love to hear from you in our Discord channel or in the comments down below. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. And each and every one of us looks forward to hearing from you guys and maybe seeing you at PT Lil. So thanks for watching, and we will see you guys in the next video. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
I'm gonna talk about Control Pi.
Control Phi is very,
Wait,
very
is
good.
Control Pi a thing?
No,
No.
it's not.
No,
We're just
he has
trolling
a
people.
he has a tab at the bottom that says Control 5 deck list.
Yeah, we're not gonna mention it at all.
Oh,
But like,
I love it. That's so funny.
somebody's gonna like see it and be like, "Oh, what's that?" Like,
Yeah, I'm gonna switch between these two tabs. I'll be like, yeah, let's talk about PT1 a little bit, and then I'm just
don't
never gonna
misclick.
click. I'm never gonna click
Oh,
on this.
I love it. That's so funny. I think that's so great.
Kadachi. That's the dumbest shit.
What? It's
Nothing is. There's nothing controlling about Kadachi. Oh my god.